Okay, let's just dive right in with a question, one that might hit a little closer to home than you think. Are you really, truly living authentically?
Come on, you've been there, right? Maybe you laughed at a joke you didn't think was funny, or you just found yourself nodding along with an opinion you totally disagree with. We've all done it. And that feeling, that little moment of pretending, that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. And here's the thing, this isn't just about being polite. The real danger is that this little habit of pretending can quietly creep in and start to take over. And man, it comes with a seriously heavy price tag. It just saps your energy, kills your joy, and slowly, piece by piece, it can chip away at the very person you are.
So, how do you even know if you're caught up in this cycle? Well, we're going to break down 5 really subtle signs that you might be pretending. And more importantly, we're going to talk about the small, totally doable actions you can take to start getting back in control. First up, and this one is a classic, you're a people pleaser. You know what I mean? It's that habit of putting what everyone else wants way ahead of what you need. And a lot of the time, you don't even realize you're doing it. So let's look at this. The behavior is saying yes when every fiber of your being, your gut, is just screaming no. And the impact? It's not just about a busy schedule. It completely drains your energy and it actually reinforces that deep down fear of being rejected. But the action you can take is the key here. You don't have to go from 0 to 100 and just start screaming no at everyone. Just try saying maybe. That one little word buys you time. It creates space to actually check in with yourself. Okay, so let's move on to sign number 2, and you'll see how these things start to connect. This is when you find yourself constantly over explaining your choices, your decisions, pretty much everything. So, what's really going on there? Well, when you're constantly trying to justify yourself, it's usually a big red flag for what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. It's just a fancy way of saying there's a clash between what you're doing and what you know deep down is true for you. The authentic action here is so simple but so powerful. Just pause. Before you launch into a whole speech, just ask yourself, wait a second, do I actually owe anyone an explanation here? Owning your decisions without feeling the need to apologize for them is an amazing way to start flexing that authenticity muscle. All right, sign number 3. This one is all about the why. Ask yourself, are you doing things because they bring you genuine satisfaction? Or are you doing them because you're chasing that pat on the back, that praise from other people? And this is such a trap because when you're running on praise, you're basically living on these little sugar highs that don't last. It limits any chance of real long term satisfaction. So here's a little challenge for you. Find just one thing, one single thing you're doing mostly for approval, and swap it out for something that actually lines up with your own values. You'd be amazed what a difference that one small switch can make. Okay, on to number 4. And let's be real, this is a huge one for a lot of us. You avoid conflict like the plague. You'd rather swallow your own words and hide how you really feel just to keep everything peaceful. But here's the thing, that peace is a total illusion. When you hide your truth, all you're really doing is creating this massive storm of stress and resentment inside yourself. You're not keeping the peace, you're just moving the war indoors. So the authentic action, start small. Practice speaking up in really low-stakes situations, with a friend about something silly like where to get pizza. Each time you do that, you're literally training your brain that your truth is valuable. And that brings us to our final sign, number 5. And this one can be really subtle. It's when you achieve something and you immediately downplay it, or you just blow right past it without even taking a second to acknowledge what you did. See, the problem with downplaying your wins is that you're teaching yourself that your value only comes from other people. You get stuck in this loop where you're always looking outside for that validation. So the most important thing you can do is celebrate your own achievements. I'm not talking about throwing a parade. It can be a quiet, private moment where you just say to yourself, hey, good job. That simple act starts to train your mind to find worth from the inside out. So, we've gone through the signs. And maybe a few of them felt a little familiar. But it's so important to ask the next question. Why do we do this? Understanding the roots here isn't about making excuses. It's about learning to have a little compassion for ourselves. It usually boils down to these 3 things. First, there's early conditioning. From the time we're little kids, we're taught to be agreeable, to not make waves. Then there's the fear of judgment. We're terrified of what people will think if they see the real us. And sometimes, honestly, it's just old-fashioned survival mode. We learn to adapt to fit in because that's how we feel safe. The key thing to remember is this is not a personal failure. It is a deeply human thing. Okay, now for the really exciting part. Because understanding the why is great, but now let's talk about the how. How do we actually start to fix this? How can we literally retrain our brains to be more authentic? The whole key to this is a truly incredible concept called neuroplasticity. It's just a scientific way of saying that your brain has this amazing ability to rewire itself based on what you do and what you think. This means you're not stuck. You're not hardwired to be this way forever. Every single time you make a small, authentic choice, you are literally building new pathways in your brain. So how do we put this neuroplasticity to work for us? Well, it all comes back to those small actions we've been talking about. Think of it like a really simple workout for your brain. Step 1, practice saying no, or even just maybe. Step 2, practice speaking your truth, starting with the small stuff. And step 3, practice celebrating your own wins. Each time you do any of these, you are actively retraining your brain for authenticity. So what's the payoff for all this work? What's on the other side? Well, here's the beautiful paradox of it all. Life doesn't get harder, it gets richer. You get this amazing mental clarity because you're not fighting a war inside your own head anymore. Your relationships get deeper because people finally get to know the real you. And you start to feel this sense of purpose in your work because it's aligned with who you are. The ultimate prize is finally truly feeling at home in your own skin. So I'm going to leave you with a challenge. Just think about everything we just talked about and decide on one. What is one small, authentic action that you will commit to taking this week? Remember, this is not about a massive, dramatic life overhaul. It's just about taking one single step. One step towards a life that doesn't just look good from the outside, but feels right, feels true on the inside. A life that doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real.